Okay, let's talk about cloud storage today. During the presentation, you can send me questions by text chat. I generally get to about half of them. If I don't answer your question, I will send you an email and we can have an extended discussion. If that doesn't work for you, we can talk on Skype. If that doesn't work for you, I can use my calling card. I've got about 50,000 minutes left on my calling card for telephones. So let's go ahead and get started. And APCUG will be posting this presentation, both the PowerPoint probably and the YouTube on their website. In the meantime, it's already up on my website, aztcs.org, and click on Meeting Notes. So you can go to aztcs.org and go to Meeting Notes and see today's presentation, as well as about 60 others. There's about 10 presentations there related to cloud storage, from the least amount of detail to the every picky possible screen. So we try to help people out with this technology. And this will be a comparison of SkyDrive, Google Drive, Box, and iCloud. And there's plenty more out there. These are the most popular ones. SkyDrive, because it's almost built into Windows 8. They try to trick you into starting a SkyDrive account if you don't already have one when you start a new Windows 8 computer for the first time, or when you install Windows 8. Google Drive, because it's very popular and has a lot of real high-tech advantages like editing and viewing of files. Box, because they were the first out to the market, and they have probably they're probably the highest tech in the way of capabilities. And iCloud. I can't go to a Macintosh users group without people telling me how great iCloud is. And it all depends on your point of view. If you're running a Mac and you're running iWorks, it's wonderful. If you're running a Windows computer and you don't own a Mac, it's probably pretty useless to you. So it all depends on your point of view and your worldview with computers. Let's talk about some of the topics we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about cloud storage services in general, differences between them, and then we'll talk about how you download the folders you've stored up there, how you upload files and folders to the cloud storage service, and then most cloud storage services now have an online file viewing and editing capability. So they're more than just a place to put things. You can actually do some of your computing there. Cloud storage services in general. In general, they look like this. You have a server farm, actually a series of them. Even the Apple company has two. And you, what else can I show you? I represent them with a cloud. That's marketing hype. There's no cloud involved. Okay? The people that make the high-level decisions and the marketing types like to call anything they don't understand a cloud. And for those of us who actually work with computers, and many of the people at APCUG do, the cloud is a series of buildings with all kinds of extremely sophisticated devices inside, including servers, and keeping them running has nothing to do with the cloud. The cloud just makes for a good way to show it in a presentation or a diagram. Then, if you go inside your computer or your cell phone or your tablet or your PDA, you have two ways to access through the internet this series of server farms. You can use your web browser, which will be your main way of accessing this service, and you can also use vendor-specific provided software for accessing your stored files and folders. So we'll show you some of that. So what is this cloud service located? It's a cluster of server farms that are interconnected by the internet. And if the internet is working right, you will usually be communicating directly with the one that's closest to you, but not always, because that's why they have so much redundancy. Okay, what can I show you? That's the same slide as last one. Okay. From the vendor side, the provider of the cloud storage service, they see a pile of buildings full of computers. That's what this cloud represents. And they see their internet connection, which connects all the way to your computer. And on your side, you see your computer and you spend your money and you get an internet connection from a broadband, satellite, or dial-up service. Dial-up's very slow. And you're using your computer using a web browser or the specific vendor specifically provided software to access your stored files and folders. Okay. And for a quick example of a cluster of interconnected server farms, the biggest one we know about there is Google Drive server farms. At least 12 sites, usually more by the time it hits print. 13 sites. 13 sites. You'll notice that most of them are in the United States, with a good smattering in other places like Finland, Singapore, Taiwan, and Dublin, Ireland. Dublin, Ireland is a very popular place to put server farms. And here's a quick map that I got from the Google company. I think that's where I got it. No, Techmore. I got it from techmore.info. It shows you where they're all located, and you can. And here's some photos of what they look like. I don't have time to go into too much detail, and they're real pretty, and the Google company publishes them on their website. This is a factory-sized server farm at the Dalles, Oregon. They found the real cheap electricity there and bought a bunch of farmland and built these 3 buildings. Here is something they built in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Looks like a big factory of some kind, and it's full of server farms. Servers. And here is their server farm in Douglas County, Georgia. It's a monster. And then here is their server farm in Lenoir, North Carolina. It's also a big one. And here's one in Hamina, Finland. Here's one in Berkeley County, South Carolina. Here's one in Mays County, Oklahoma. These are all interconnected together. In order to get a server farm placed into your hometown or area, you have to give them lots of big tax breaks and convince them that you won't give them a lot of trouble over the damage they do to the environment. And even though they try real hard to use a lot of solar and things around most of them. Okay, now let's talk about what you need. On your side, you either need a web browser such as Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Chrome, or you need the vendor-specific software program to access the files that you have stored or are going to store in a cloud service. And let's take a quick example of using a web browser to upload and download files from your computer's local hard drive up to a server farm or a series of server farms. The best one out there in terms of ease of use is Google Chrome, and using it to access the Google Drive server farm system. Google has built into the Chrome browser a bunch of additional modules so you can access a Google Drive account without using JavaScript. This is something they're real proud of. So if you log into Google Chrome and you go into the New Tabs page, it's a stack of services that Google provides. Okay, that's their New Tabs page. They're trying to make sure they promote themselves. If you click on Google Drive, which is this triangle, or you can type in drive.google.com into your browser, your Google Chrome browser. To download or upload files, you would click on this little icon up here in the upper left-hand corner of the content area. It looks like that. And when you upload or download, you can choose single files or entire folders. Entire folders gives you a browse for folder window box. You can go find a folder you want to send up to your Google Drive account. And so I'm just going through all the things I did. After you click on upload, see what happened here. You click on OK. Once you click on the folder, you it uploads, and it gives you this window saying your upload's complete. So you close it, and lo and behold, what happened? You end up with, I think this thing has got a mind of its own. You end up with a folder uploaded to your Google Drive account, stored there up in the They're the Google server farms. Wow, this thing's doing something on its own, isn't it? Okay. Now, that's the easiest way to do it. And no one else can do it for you from inside a web browser without using JavaScript. Okay? At least not yet. You can also use an app or program provided by your cloud service provider to upload and download files. And the smartest one for that is a company called Box, box.com. And if you go to Box and you download their Box Sync program into your Mac or your Windows computer, you can get it installed into your Mac. I've shown Mac screens, but it will look just about the same in your PC. I'm just showing the Mac to be different. And if you click on Open, you install. In the Mac, you have to agree. You have to click on Install. You have to log into your Box Sync account, so you already should have had one. It's free. You get 5 free gigs of storage. So I log in, and after you log in, it's done. You can now install Box Sync into your Mac or your PC. And if you in a Mac or PC, in a Mac it's in the upper right-hand corner next to the clock, and a PC it's down near the clock in the task bar. You'll see a little B for box, and if you click on it, it will let you go first of all to your Box account, which is up in the cloud in the internet, or you can go to your Box Documents folder in a Mac or a PC where it's called a Box Sync folder, I believe. And then if you open that folder up, all you have to do to upload files into it is to drag into that folder. So you drag right into that folder a file or a folder which is on your local hard drive, and the software will upload it into your Box account and it'll store it safely to protect you from hard drive failures and other problems in life. So then you go, and if you're uploading and in a single file, it lands in a folder up in your Box account called Default Sync folder. You'll want to move it out of there right away, because if you drag it out of your by mistake out of your default sync folder in your Mac or PC, it'll actually take it out up at the cloud. So you want to move it right away before you inadvertently do any damage to the file, okay? And if you drag an entire folder up there, it will just show up in the root directory at your Box account. You'll want to drag it somewhere else or move it somewhere else, because the same thing can happen if you delete it from your local Box Sync folder in your Mac or PC. So anyhow, let's look at some basic cloud storage services. SkyDrive by Microsoft gives you 7 gigabytes of storage. Google Drive gives you 5. Box gives you 5. There's no law that says you can't use all of them if you need more than one will provide, right? All right, that makes sense. Now, every time I make a presentation or I go talk to a Mac group, they will remind me that iCloud is wonderful and it's provided by the Apple company. So I put it here, okay? And they even have the gall to tell me, my friends who own Macs just like I do, that it's free. Well, if you own a PC and you create an iCloud account at iCloud.com, you will find out that it doesn't let you store files up there. You have to then go to a Mac and buy iWorks with your Mac ID and download it, or one of the iWork related applications, into a Mac before you can store. Then you can use a Mac or PC to store files, not folders, up in iCloud. So it's not really free if you've got to spend $29.95, right? So it's all relative. I'm sorry that I'm going so fast that I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I better have to slow down a little bit. That's one of the disadvantages. I should be watching what's happening on the other screen. I've got both a Mac and a PC in front of me. All right. Let's talk about Microsoft SkyDrive. You can get to it by going to SkyDrive.com. it has a feature called Fetch from PC that no one else has. If you activate it from any computer in the world, you can get into your computer and get in and download or view any file in your Windows computer. So it's like go to my PC, right? So it's a very powerful feature if you need to get into your computer, but you don't know which file you need ahead of time. It's also a great way for hackers to break in, but that's beside the point, right? Microsoft SkyDrive, compared to the other two services I'm telling you about, is the hardest to upload entire data folders up there. You have to use their software to do it. You can't do it from a browser. Okay? And they also offer if you store data files up at SkyDrive, you can use Office Web Apps, which is kind of a very dumbed down analog to Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint to view some of your files. You can't do much with them because obviously Microsoft wants you to go and buy Office 360 or Office 2013. So they're not going to make it too fancy, right? All right. And then Google Drive. Okay. Google Drive, I showed you somewhat a little bit earlier. It has great online viewing and editing by means of Google Docs. And it's got, as I showed you, it's very easy to upload entire folders using the Google Chrome browser. Or with other browsers, they give you a proprietary Java app, which together with JavaScript lets you upload folders, but it doesn't work well and doesn't install into so many versions of Internet Explorer, etc. There's problems with it. They want you to use the Google Chrome browser. The advantage of Google Drive is it tries to protect you from yourself. If you attempt to upload using the Google Chrome browser the same file more than once, Google lets you. If you attempt to upload the same folder more than once, Google lets you. So you can end up with a lot of copies up there of the same file or folder. So you might want to rename them with the date and time if you upload the same file or folder more than once to your Google Cloud account. Okay? Box. Box has been around before all the rest of these companies. I've been on Box for about 12 years. And they provide you many additional bells and whistles compared to the other ones. If you've got a bunch of Office-type documents like DOC files, PPT files, XLS files stored up at Box, you can open them in Zoho, which is a very nice online editor, or you can use your Google Docs account to open them, or you can put in Box Sync software, Box Office software, I think it's called. So you can automatically download them to your PC and upload them back when you're done with whatever Office software is in your computer. So there are many ways for you to do things that other companies haven't developed yet. Okay, and they support more operating systems and platforms than. And Box is not the same as Dropbox. The two companies are totally unrelated. Box actually got the name before Dropbox did. They're more into developing software and not suing people, so it confuses people. Box has been they started off by calling themselves Box.net, and then they eventually decided the world would prefer Box.com. So it doesn't quite do what Dropbox does. Dropbox is an additional option for storing files and folders. Box, its claim to fame is it has by far, I think, the best Java-based uploads using a web browser. It's not quite as good as Google Drive, but if you want to use any other browser like Firefox, or Chrome, you will have a much better time using Box's JavaScript uploader than any other their competitors. Apple's iCloud. I told you it's not free, right? Just to play the devil's advocate, since I run both PCs and Macs, before I put iCloud or activated it in my Mac, I went and tried to access it from my PC, and all I got was a bunch of ads about how great iWork is. Okay? So they won't let you even store one file up there. They let you store some your Outlook contacts, your browser favorites. They'll let you store a bunch of small things up there to get your interest if you have a Windows computer. But the biggie is storing files, and they won't let you do it at all until you get on a Mac and buy some software. Okay? And in order to upload and store photos there, you have to buy iPhoto. So I had to purchase about $60 worth of software, both iWorks Pages and iPhoto, before I could store both files and folders up in iCloud. So it cost me a few bucks, right? But I still felt I needed to do it because so many people were telling me about how great it was. And I think I've got a little bit of feedback. I better turn a few things down. I think I've got a little feedback through my speakers. All right, that should solve the problem. Okay, now what else is going on? I better click here. All right, much better. Okay, Apple's iCloud has perfect integration with their iWorks Office suite. That consists of Pages and a piece of software called Keynote, which is similar to PowerPoint, and Numbers, which is similar to Excel. And this is a lot more detailed than most of you are going to need, but I've given you a list of all the file formats that you can store in this slide in the Pages tab inside iCloud. As you can see, you can only store about 4 different file formats, right? In the Pages tab. And you can store in the Keynote tab. You can only store Keynote files, .ppt files, .pptx files. And in the Numbers tab, you can only store .numbers files, .xls files, .xlsx files, and .csv files. So it's very limited what files you can store up at Apple's iCloud, right? And so I talked about that. Now, I provided a report card for each of these storage services. That's very popular. Now that I'm out of school, I provide report cards for other organizations. All right. For SkyDrive, you can store more than anyone else for free, 7 gigabytes. And their uploading isn't quite as good as Google Docs and Box, mainly because uploading of folders requires that you use their proprietary software, which sometimes interferes with games and things like AutoCAD and things. And sometimes I even found out it interferes with iLink's software. No known data security compromises. None of the ones I'm going to tell you about today have any known data security compromises where an employee stole a bunch of information and sold it off to somebody, and people have to start changing all kinds of information to protect themselves. Okay, so I won't deal with those. And Dropbox, unfortunately, is in that category, where they had a major theft by a new employee about 2 years ago. Okay, online view and edit of documents. Everybody will let you do that just about. A Windows Store app for use in the start screen of Windows 8. Okay, Windows 8 start screen is going to be big for new users of computers, because that's where Windows 8 will probably default to for them. So I want to make sure that they have an app for getting into it without having to learn how to use a browser. That's important to me because it's easier to teach somebody rather than trying to make them log in and trying to store their password inside a browser. Google Drive, amount of storage is 5 gigs. Okay, they have an upload and download of data files. They're slightly better than everybody else because of the fact they have it integrated into the Chrome browser. No known data security compromises. Yes, that's true. Online view and edit of documents. It's pretty good with Google Docs, okay? And also with Picasa. Google's, let's see, Windows Store app for use in the start screen of Windows 8. Not yet. They're planning on one, okay? So pretty soon you'll be able to provide a tile for the Windows start screen for Google Drive in the next couple of months. Box. Okay, yes. They only provide you with 5 gigabytes of free storage. I overran mine about 10 years ago. Upload and download entire folders of data files. Yes, but only mainly from using their web browsers, JavaScript and JavaScript applet. Okay, no security data compromises. Online view of documents and photos, probably better than anybody else because you can do it with both Google Docs and with Soho and with your local, whatever software is in your local PC. So you can set it up any way you like. Windows Store app, they have a nice one that automatically logs you into your Box account. And the amount of free storage for iCloud, none. Okay. Upload and download entire folders of data files, no way. Steve Jobs decided people don't need to make folders up at his storage spot, so you can't make a folder there. So my photos of my kid are mixed in with my photos for every other project I'm doing up there. Okay. No known data security compromises. None. Online view and edit of photos and documents. Not bad. You have to download into a PC, but from a Mac you can always just double click on whatever you see and it'll open up in either iWork or in iPhoto. And then Windows Store app for use in start screen of Windows 8. No way. I don't think Apple will ever create a Windows Store app to help you get into their iCloud, though that might change. Okay, I showed you this screen earlier more generically. These screens are part of my other presentations. I have a presentation on each one of these services that gives you a lot of detail about each one. If this box represents your computer, okay, and you can use your web browser. See if I can draw again. To access like all the rest of these, your main way of accessing your storage is with your web browser. And in Microsoft's case, you can't upload an entire folder without using their desktop app for Windows. You can't even upload a folder using their Start Screen app for Windows 8. Okay, so you're stuck with their desktop app for Windows. That does have conflicts with some gaming software and some iLink software and things. Okay, so it does cause problems. And then what else can I tell you? Okay, if you want to upload folders, you have to use their software, and you have to use Windows Vista Service Pack 2 or Mac OS X, their app for Mac OS X 7 Plus. So you can't use one for anything other than Lion and Mountain Lion. So in the Mac, and you can't upload any folders using their SkyDrive app in a Windows XP computer. So that puts about 30 to 40% of our clientele at the Tucson Computer Science Society unable to upload entire folders because they're still running XP. Microsoft's Code of Conduct also is a little restrictive. If you put up, this detail is too small for you to see, so I'll make it a little bigger. If you were taking an art class and you put up certain pictures from certain statues in Italy and France, you might risk losing your account. So they're very restrictive. Okay, so you might want to use Google Drive or Box if you were taking an art class like I just finished. And then there's a lot more information about Microsoft's Code of Conduct, including a gentleman who lost his account. He was a Norwegian fellow, and he was taking an art class like I was telling you about, and Microsoft didn't like what he was posting in some of his documentation. Okay, Google Drive. Google Drive you can use, like I told you, the Chrome browser for uploads and downloads of folders. I talk about uploads and downloads of folders because unless you enjoy making folders up at your storage spot, and of course you can't do it at the iCloud, but for Google Drive and for SkyDrive, you can make folders, many levels of folders, I think at least 10 nested folders. Unless you enjoy making them manually, it's easier just to upload what folders you've already created down on your local hard drive. It'll save you many hours. And then Google Drive lets you upload folders and files. So that's the second way to upload folders and files. You can't download folders and files with Google Drive. which is a piece of software for XP and higher. So if you're running Windows XP, Google Drive is probably your best bet. Also, it's only available. Google Drive also lets you put it into Mac OS X 10.6 and higher. So now you're good for yet an earlier version. I think it's called Snow Leopard of Mac. So in addition to Lion and Mountain Lion. Okay, so I talked about all that. Yeah, you cannot upload folders to Google Drive with many other web browsers. I finally found a couple of web browsers that liked it, Chrome and the latest version of Mozilla Firefox, but I haven't had too much luck with Internet Explorer. So Internet Explorer and it doesn't seem to get along. So you'll have to, it's kind of a trial and error thing. Box. Okay, Box has great uploading and downloading of files and folders from most web browsers. Every once in a while you'll find a web browser that doesn't work. Box Sync will let you upload from Windows XP and higher and Mac OS X 10.6 Mountain Lion, no, Snow Leopard and higher. And then Box App for Windows 8, what does that do? It lets you, oh, okay, that's for the Windows 8 start screen. So Box covers all the bases and lets you use XP and the earlier version of OS X. Okay, now, so I talk about the fact that you can download and upload with both using the Java app from inside a web browser and from using Box Sync from inside, which runs as an application inside your computer. And iCloud, okay, we talked about that a little bit. No upload and downloading of folders. You can't even create folders up in iCloud. Okay, so it's great for these executive types who hate making folders and have their whole desktop full of files. Steve Jobs just decided to give them a big, huge, expandable desktop up in the cloud, up in his server farm, to store your files in, right? And let's see, iCloud Web App Plugin. Okay, it downloads an iCloud Web App plugin into your web browser. Okay, especially if you're using Windows of some kind. I think it's already built in Safari. And if you drag and drop, let's see, there is no, iCloud does not provide you an app in an OS X computer. You have to the app is iWorks or Pages or Aperture, whatever software that they have. It's iCloud will automatically let you download, upload, and save to from inside those apps. iCloud will give you a control panel for controlling it and uploading and downloading in Windows computers. Okay, and I don't believe it works for XP, so it has to be Vista and higher. Okay, what else can I show you? The Pages officially. Oh, that's a good question about the scorecards. The PDF of the scorecards, and I'm glad to send it to you as a PPT if you want to use it for your own presentations. It's currently already at my website at aztcs.org, and click on meeting notes. You can get the scorecard. I've gone through various iterations of what's a good scorecard, and finally, after a lot of criticisms from many club members around the country, finally came upon the ones that you see now. So you're welcome to use it. Officially, let's see, only like sub files. Okay, I can tell you what's official. Okay, if you walk in a Mac store, they want the Genius bar that will tell you one thing, depending on how smart the genius you run into is. Officially, you can only put up into the Pages tab of iCloud the following file extension files: .pages, .doc, .docx, .txt. And the same thing for the Numbers section, .xls, .numbers for the Numbers tab in iCloud. Okay, and this is true also if you access it with a PC once you get it going. The Keynotes tab in iCloud will only let you put up .keynote files, .ppt files, and .pptx files. So now, that's what they'll tell you. If you get a real smart genius at the Genius Bar over at the Mac store, you can unofficially store just about any file up at any one of these tabs by renaming a file to have a .pages, .doc, a .docx, or a .txt file ending. Okay, file extension, and the similar ditto for .sls in the numbers tab, and ditto for .keynote, .ppt, and .pptx at the keynote tab. Okay, let me give you an example. I've got a file, a nice picture I took called sigphoto 2013 something.jpg, right? It's a photo I took at the last SIG I attended meeting at my users group. I want to store it up in iCloud. I changed it to 2013 something.jpg.docx. I dragged the file to the Pages tab of iCloud, and it stores there just fine. Now, after I download it, I've got to rename it before my software will open it down in my computer, right? But iCloud doesn't check the file header to figure out what real kind of file it really is. Okay, so you can do the same thing everywhere. Now, you can store entire folders up at iCloud by zipping them. Okay, and that's also officially not supported by Mac, the Apple company. So if I zip a file and then I give it a .doc file extension, I can store that up in the up in the Pages tab. Okay, I'll give you an example. I got a computer class notes.zip, a class that I'm teaching. First of all, it was a DOC file. Okay, computer class notes. I mean a folder. It's a folder full of DOC files. Okay, I zip it. Okay, I right-click on it. I compressed it. Then I renamed it to computerclassnotes.zip.doc, and then I dragged it to the Pages tab of iCloud, and the iCloud storage service says no problem. It stores it there for me. But of course, in order to, if I drag it, I download it back to my computer, I've got to change the name of it, unzip it, and then open it up, and I have all my stored DOC files. Okay. All right. Download the files that you've stored on the Apple storage farm. Okay, you can pull that same trick if you can't upload an entire folder by zipping it first. Okay, it's a little inconvenient, but you can do that if you don't want to play around with SkyDrive and their SkyDrive for desktop app. Okay, what else can you do? Downloads of folders. Okay, when you download a folder from your storage spot up in the cloud, up in the server farm, it by default will download. All these services will download it to you as a zip file. Okay, there occasionally is a problem with that because some files don't zip. So then you'll be missing a file or two from your zip folder from when you unzip it. Okay. However, you can that's a little inconvenient, right? To have one or two that you've got to go and find afterwards up in the cloud and download individually. With Box, you can download the entire folder in native format by running Box Sync software and dragging it into your Box Sync folder up in your cloud account, in your Box account, and then your Box Sync software will grab it and put it into your Box Sync folder down on your local PC or Mac. Okay, so that's the only software service, storage service that lets you download an entire folder. Okay, only Box has that capability. Other services haven't developed it yet. So they're always going to be 2 to 3 to 4 years ahead of the other services because of all the money poured into them and all the corporations that like these extra features for their employees. So that's why I've been on it. And Apple iCloud, again, doesn't let you download more than one file at a time, so it could be a little inconvenient. But so there are a lot of people that never download and upload more than one file at a time. Obviously, a lot of people at my Mac users group, right, because they love iCloud. So okay, so what else can I tell you? Okay, when you upload the same file or folder to the same directory and location up in your cloud storage, each cloud service will handle it differently. So that's why I've written an explanation for how each cloud service works as a separate presentation, because it's too confusing to compare apples and oranges. When you upload to SkyDrive, the same folder or file, it will complain and say you already have one there. So you've got to go up to using a web browser or using the SkyDrive app in Windows start screen to delete the folder or file before you upload a new one, or else otherwise you just get this silly error message saying you already have one here, dummy. So it won't let you. Okay. You get this terrible error message here. I tried to upload the zip file up there, and it said you already have a file. So I then, in order to upload the updated version of this file, this zip file, I had to go up to use a web browser. I went up to my SkyDrive account, deleted the darn thing. Then it finally let me upload this file. Okay. If you're using Google Drive, that's the most complicated situation. Okay. If you're uploading from using Google's web browser, which is called Chrome, right? You can upload as many copies of a file or folder as you want. The problem is it doesn't put them in any kind of a logical order. So every time you upload a folder called tests on so-and-so date, that folder shows up again in your Google Drive account, and the same thing for any file that you upload. And sometimes, if you're real lucky, the last modified will be right, will be slightly different, but not always. So if you upload the same file more than once or the same folder up to your Google Drive account, you had better rename it, right-click on it, rename, and put down the time and date of that folder or file to make it so you're not trying to guess which one is your most current one. Okay? This is quite a surprise. You realize the Google company likes to think outside the box. They're trying to prevent you from losing your data. And I work with elderly people, anywhere from 70 to 95, and a lot of them have lost their data uploading things, new versions of things, not realizing that they would overwrite what was already up on the cloud storage account. So this does help protect you against yourself. The Google company, no one other company does it that way. Okay, and so look at all these copies. And by the time I got done, I was real mixed up about which copy was which, and I had modified each one slightly before I uploaded it. So there's no rhyme or reason how they order it up on your storage site up in the cloud, so it just displays any old way in your web browser. Okay, so that can be a real problem. Okay, Windows XP issues. I know a lot of you are still running Windows XP. I know about a good third or half of my users group is. Box has no issues with Windows XP. It runs fine. Upload and downloads are fine, files and folders. Google Drive has no issues with XP. You just have to. It runs a whole lot better when you install Google Chrome browser into your Windows XP. Okay, SkyDrive. The people in my group have given up on SkyDrive, the ones that use XP, because they can't upload an entire folder in SkyDrive using the SkyDrive app for desktop. Okay, they've given up. So it's not real happy with XP. RAM usage. Okay, I'm running out quickly running out of time. Different ones use different amounts of RAM. Okay, SkyDrive uses the least amount, only about 12. So that is a good excuse to use SkyDrive if you're running gaming or any other things. But even if you're running gaming, the kind of games that people like me and other people use, we probably wouldn't want to run the SkyDrive app in the background at all most of the time. And then when you add in the SkyDrive app for the Windows Start screen, it jumps way up. Okay, it's always doing something in the background. Okay, a Google Drive app uses slightly less, and Box uses a ton more also in their Box Sync software. So this does have a hit on performance like all background software in your computer. Okay, online viewing, editing of storage files. Okay, I'm probably going to run out of time, but let's see, I'll have details about each and every one of these on separate presentations in PDF format, and if you want it in PowerPoint format, let me know and I'll give you a download link. I have separate presentations in detail about each and every one of these services. And I'm about to write one also for A-Drive. A-Drive gives you 50 gigabytes of storage for free. Okay, it has a few quirks. Okay, there's the goods and bads about it. But I've got a few customers that have more than 10 gigabytes of storage of photos of their grandkids. So A-Drive is what I'm sending them to, so that they don't have to learn two different storage services. Okay, and then Dropbox is security compromised. This is the kind of thing you want to avoid. You want to keep your eye on Twitter and other social media to find out what security hacks have happened in various of these services. And if they sound real bad, you need to be proactive and defend yourself. So I haven't been on Dropbox since this little unfortunate incident when they hired a new employee in 2012, because he went and sold off a lot of email addresses and personal data that from users to some crime syndicate. Okay, I think he got arrested and I think he's doing some time, but that's his problem. Okay, so anyhow, I guess I'm supposed to entertain some questions and get set up for the next guy. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to get a sip of water, and I'm going to try to drink some of my wife's extremely strong coffee. But I will be here if anybody has any questions. I have separate presentations on all these different cloud storage services, and I've been using them extensively for storing things, and they've saved my tail more than once for about almost 12 years now. And 12 years ago we didn't have a lot of what we have now, and businesses were all hopping on the bandwagon and buying box accounts, and I paid for one. For a while they were such a monopoly they even got rid of their free accounts. But after Google Drive and SkyDrive came up with theirs, they provided a free account again in order to compete. After all, no one wants to try anything, buy anything without trying it for free first, right? So if you have any questions, or you want to see any details, I obviously have a lot of documentation about all of these services. You have somewhat of a chance of losing your data up at these cloud storage services if they have a network glitch of some kind, because everything is synchronized, right? Synchronization can sometimes cause you to lose things. So it doesn't hurt, but your odds of losing data there are much lower than on a single PC. Even though I'm running a RAID array, two drive RAID array, I eventually will have a crash, and some crashes affect both drives in the array, right? So I'm trying to reduce the amount of chance that I'll lose any of my documentation and data and my photos by storing up on the cloud, and also storing on some hard drives stored at a bank vault. So when you volunteer for 8 places and you handle sometimes sensitive information, in my case credit card numbers and other things, for 1 or 2 places, you don't want to have hard drive crashes, and you don't want to have any of your data stolen. So it does help. I don't trust sending things up to the cloud that is sensitive, because of the fact each one of those server farms I showed you the photo of has at least 20 techs working, keeping everything running, right? So that at least 20 times 13 number of technicians can get into my data when I store up at Google Drive, right? So I keep that in mind, and if you get that number of people involved, you'll get a criminal or two, right? Just a matter of odds. It's a percentage of the population that's a criminal element is going to eventually affect what you store up at one of these cloud services, right? So you've got to weigh that versus the odds of losing what you have and what's important to you to a hard drive crash or two. And also, I gladly give this presentation to any group. I'm about ready to give it to a group up here in Tucson, both in person, if they're close enough, and remotely through APCUG if they're too far for me to drive.